I think the starting point of Long Time Traveller was thinking about making a country record, really, with Adrian. And realising, you know, when I'd gone to Jamaica a few times, that country music was so huge in Jamaica, you know, and I'd spent some time with Ashanti Roy, who was on many On New Sound records, singers and players and records and things. And he was also a member of the Congos, which one of my favourite bands from the time. And I remember going around to his house in Jamaica, and all he played was country music, you know, that was it, you know. And I remember talking to Gregory Isaacs the one time I met him and asked him what his favourite songs were, and he said, well, you know, country music, you know, I grew up listening to Johnny Cash and all this stuff. So those things are always kind of mixed in my mind, and so I said to Adrian, I'd love to do a kind of country record with you. And then Adrian said, well, great. He'd just done some new rhythms with Style Scott and Roots Radix. He gave me all these rhythms to listen to. And we didn't really know how we were going to go forward, if we were going to re-record them or whatever. But they just sounded so natural and so great. And so it became much more of a, instead of a kind of classic country record, it became a classic record of the people that were influenced by country music. So Gregory Isaacs, Culture, the Abyssinians, and those kind of people that I, you know, really loved. I met Adrian the first time I came to London, which was in 1981, the beginning of 1981. I was living in New York at the time and was friendly with Nana Cherry, who was living on and off with us in New York. And she'd said, you know, come over to London if you're free, and I did. And she was living at the time in a squat in Battersea with Ari Up from the Slits and Adrian Sherwood. And I arrived in the evening, got up the next morning and met this person in the kitchen who I'd never seen before, and his first words to me was, you know, do you drive? You got a license? And I said, yeah, and it was Adrian, and he put me to work delivering records to reggae one-stops all across London, and we really were very close right from that moment on. I mean, who wouldn't be inspired by rhythms, you know, done by the great people like, you know, Style Scott, Flabber Holt, George Oban, you know, these are the great musicians of our generation. For me, it was a huge thrill, you know, it's really the biggest thrill of my life, really, to do that record with those people. And I think that it's the best record I've ever made, certainly the most enjoyable record I've ever made. Well, I've always loved the idea of very, very, very beautiful music carrying a much heavier message, you know, and the two places that did that the most brilliantly were in Jamaica and in the soul music, you know, those two things. Someone like Gregory Isaacs with songs like Poor and Clean, you know, some of those beautiful music, but these really heavy lyrics, or the Abyssinians, Culture, you know, all those people, you know, there's no need for the two things to be mutually exclusive at all, you know, and I don't do it as well as they did, but that was the idea, was to make really beautiful, you know, music over this, but to have some heavier lyrics.